And in us helping educate people, we can help people, free them from whatever that's causing their financial situations to become worse. So we actually do want to help people in a sense that you can actually start seeing things around you in your life, in your family, that would help you save more money. And when I say save money, when you look at all the adverts out there, they say save, but saving means spending. The saving that I'm talking about is taking the money that you spending on unnecessary stuff and turning it into something more profitable for yourself. So I would like to discuss a few things before we start. In one of the things is the books that I read that have made a big difference in my life. And the 4 greatest books of all time were Greatest Salesman in the World, Richest Man in Babylon. They were the thinnest books that you can read for those who are lazy to read. And for those who are really, really super lazy to read, download the audiobooks on Amazon. And then Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, because this gives you the very, very fundamental understanding of how the Western system works and how money works, etc., etc. So most people have little or no education as far as with what money is concerned. So often we find ourselves in a vicious circle with our finances, relationships, and health. And what I've also discovered is that one rubs off on the other. In other words, if you're having a bad relationship, often it affects your money, or vice versa. And when you're having a breakup, you end up spending money or going into depression and not seeing customers, etc., etc. So everyone has a different reason to be here. Some people maybe feel they're overwhelmed with different forms of debt, starting with credit card debt, car or house payments that are behind, spending more money than you are earning. Lots of people telling you how to make more money, but then if you make more money, you probably will spend it all or spend more money. So I just, for those of you who don't know my wife, I'm going to introduce you to Nelda.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. Thanks, love, for inviting me.
So I got her to do some alterations on the presentation today because we decided we're gonna host these webinars. We're gonna record them and put them up on YouTube for you guys to view and listen over again. And then we're actually just starting with the first 20 today. And next week we'll probably do another 20, another 20, another 20. You cannot believe how much is going on. All right, so guys, stop fiddling with the screen. Thank you very much. When you are, this is Nelda, soon after a gyrocopter flight. Now, just imagine you could look so happy every day of your life. Now, why am I putting this picture up here? Because a few months ago, was it a month, 2 months ago maybe, there was an opportunity, and she's dead scared of flying. And there was an opportunity for her to go with these people to an airfield and go and fly. But she just wanted to watch. And then eventually they got her into the seat, and look how happy she was flying this thing, coming back. And sometimes people just need to take a leap of faith and, just get, sorry?
Risk.
Yeah, risk. All right, so let's quickly, I just want to quickly put a pause on this. So last year, 2019 January, we wanted to take a break and come to Cape Town for a holiday, and then we had some inquiries for crypto trading, and we had 37 people. We ended up spending a lot of money every time on Airbnbs, food and meals and stuff. And when you're getting income, it's easy to spend it and not to look at your costs and your expenses. But when your funds are short, then you're kind of looking at maybe ways of cutting your costs. And this is probably what happened 6 or 8 months later. After July, Nelda was convinced that we need to stay in Cape Town and that this was an awesome place. And we found a very nice place that had mountain and water view to look out. And we had taken some huge profits of crypto trading on a cryptocurrency that's crashed, absolutely crashed. But we knew when to get out, and then we got this place with 5 bedrooms in Muizenberg, and we have since, you must see, the garden looks a lot better now. My wife has been working on a lot of things there. So we had a new situation, but we also had a new set of expenses. And then we had this house in Pretoria that we've bought, and now we're renting a house in Cape Town. So we still have to pay for 2 places. I sat down with Nelda one day and said, okay, now we need to look at our cost of living and our expenses, and maybe I will let her tell you part of the story.
Hi, everyone. Well, at first, when Will put me down and said that we have to look at our expenses, I kind of got a bit of a fright because, you know, it's like somebody waking you up in the middle of the night and ask you how much are all your debit orders together? What is the amount of it? And I was like thinking, you know, where am I going to start? I don't know. And I've also realized that, you know, this is actually a very fearful situation because you kind of know you pay your debit orders every month and you've got income and you've got expenses. But in a way, in the back of your head, you kind of avoid all these things. You avoid looking at it and you avoid acknowledge the fact that, you know, this amount is your expenses and this is your income. And I think we pretty much all are very aware of what your monthly income is, unless you've got multiple streams of income. But most of the people that has a full-time job gets a salary slip, so you know exactly what amount of money goes into your account, but we don't know how much money goes out of your account every month. You just know that you don't have enough money in your account to pay everything that needs to be paid. So yeah, of course, when Will sat me down and said that let's have a look and see how we can cut, I didn't really know where to start. So I had to start thinking out the box, or shall I say I had to think inside the box but just being a little bit creative.
Great. So where and how did we start? So we obviously took bank statements and we took all our slips and looked at all the fees and expenses, wrote them down put them down on spreadsheets and looked at our expenses.
It was quite an exercise. You know, often you print your bank statement and you look at a few things, but when you print 2 or 3 months bank statements and you put them down and you take some highlighters and you make a very creative exercise of it and you start dotting down absolute all the expenses in terms of the bank fees, bank charges, various expenses that you've got, and start grouping your expenses together. It was quite interesting to see what I could come up with, because I've realized the very first thing that I've realized that why, for instance, in my bank account, I didn't have enough was that I did never bring into account how much my bank charges were. I had a rough ballpark figure of what they normally tell you how much your bank charges are. But when I actually looked at all those little 2 Rand here and a 3 Rand there and a 18 Rand here, and counted all the debit orders over and above your monthly fees that's not included, it was quite a rude awakening.
What are you paying for your debit orders on the net bank account that you've got?
18 Rand
18 Rand
per debit order.
18 Rand debit order, and if they bounced?
If they bounced, I would pay 45 Rand.
So, I mean, if you had 20 debit orders, you'd pay 900 Rand of fees if they bounce. So it's one of the things you need to remember when you are checking your statements and when your different debit orders are going through. Are you not paying some heavy fees?
I, for instance, had the TV license. I've been paying the TV license for the past 20 years by debit order. But the TV license is 28 Rand a month and the debit order is 18 Rand for that 28 Rand debit order. Little things like that, it was a total waste of money.
So know what you're dealing with, as fear can cripple your finances. Know how much you spend on what at all times. So that's one thing that people often forget, is that they do not write down what their expenses are, and they're just depending on their income. I know some of you are self-employed. In fact, more than half of you are self-employed, and that can be a challenge from month to month. So knowledge is power when you apply it. So applied financial knowledge promotes financial success. So what we did was we looked at our expenses and we started looking at different things that, and we'll discuss each one in detail, and how we started thinking differently on, we actually started